Hi, I'm Johnny, and today I am going to be showcasing the deck that I'm going to be playing in Kaldheim in Magic the Gathering Arena. So, I had already filmed a video of this, but unfortunately all of my video got corrupted, so I'm redoing it. So, unfortunately you won't get to see my general thought process in constructing the deck, but I can give you a quick rundown now as is. So, here's the basic deck. So, in our 1-drop slot, we have Typhoid Rats and Tajuru Blightblade. They're just 1-drops with Death Touch. And in our 2-drop slot, we have Fynn the Fangbearer, which is, of course, our staple. Our entire goal of the deck is to swing with the Death Touch and get the 10 poison counters to win. And Fiend Artisan, who is excellent creature ramp. He gives a lot of consistency to the deck, especially considering we could sacrifice just a Typhoid Rat or a Tajuru Blightblade to get a Fynn the Fangbearer. We've got Grim Dancer and Nighthawk Scavenger in our 3-drop slot, because Grim Dancer is going to have Death Touch and Menace, making him very hard to block. And Nighthawk Scavenger is going to have Flying and Death Touch, also making him very hard to block. Harald, King of Skemfar, he's an iffy choice. I like him because he usually will get me a card off the top, but he's definitely a top pick for removal if you want to remove cards, because we honestly just don't have enough elves in the deck to make him super value. And in the 4-drop slot, we have Occam Adversary, who's a really good card, especially if you're playing green. He's got Death Touch, and when he deals damage to a player, you draw a card. And Questing Beast, because he's got Haste and Death Touch, and he can't be blocked by power 2 or less. We've got Tyvar Kell as a planeswalker. He is a very good elf tribal piece. He gives ramp from our elves, and he can create more elves as well as gives elf Death Touch. So, great card. But again, you can remove 1 or 2 of him depending on how much you want to add or remove elves to the deck. Vivian is probably a staple in this deck and all green creature-based decks, because she is amazing creature-based draw. You can look at the top card and play it if it's a creature, and her -2 ability will almost always give us a Fynn the Fangbearer, or if worst comes to worst, can just give us another 1-drop Death Touch creature. In our instants and sorceries, we've got Lash of Thorns, giving just a creature +2/+1 and Death Touch. Usually I'll use it on a Fiend Artisan or Harald, because Harald has Menace, and I can also use it on occasion to buff a creature to save it from a burn spell. Heroic Intervention is an incredibly good protection spell, hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Not much needs to be said there. Primal Might is definitely a staple in this deck. You want 4 of these, because if you want it as removal, you could just pay X = 0 and then have a Death Touch creature fight another creature. They'll both die. Excellent trade usually. And it also counts as protection, because you can pay the X cost to buff a creature to survive generally a burn spell. Now on the sideboard, I have Falmir Knight, who is another 1-drop with Death Touch. You can also have Moss Viper to this deck. It's a green one. If you prefer a lower curve, you can usually switch out something like Questing Beast and Occam Adversary for the Falmir Knights and the Moss Vipers. I have Heartless Act in here as well, in case you prefer more control and removal, as well as Return to Nature. Rune of Mortality I had in the deck when I was playtesting it, but I found it to be generally not that great, because almost every creature I have in the deck has Death Touch anyways, so it's just generally not worth it. Skemfar Avenger, again, I had him in the deck, but I found I wasn't getting enough value out of him. The elves just weren't doing much, so he's in the sideboard for now as well. And Call of the Death Dweller is in the sideboard in case I need recursion. I've never played a game where I've actually needed that much recursion, but it's there just to be safe. So if you want to change up this deck for yourself, your removal picks are definitely going to be Tyvar Kell, Occam Adversary and Questing Beast, and Harald, King of Skemfar. These are the creatures that I find do the least in the deck, and just generally could be removed, especially Harald, King of Skemfar. He's iffy at best. If you're going to add cards that I would recommend, it would probably be Heroic Intervention. If I had more rare wildcards, which I unfortunately don't, I would probably play 4 Heroic Interventions and remove either 2 Okame Adversaries or 1 Okame Adversary and 1 Questing Beast. Alright, now with that out of the way, I'm going to play a couple games just so you can get a hang of how I am playing this. I've played about 10 games thus far with the deck, and I've lost 2 of them and won 8 of them. So in my experience, it is a very powerful deck, and if I'm being perfectly honest with you, I am incredibly worried that it's going to get banned. So let's hope that that doesn't happen. Alright, this looks like a good keep to me. We've got the Typhoid Rats 1-drop, as well as Herald King of Skemfar to hopefully find a Fynn. So we'll... Oh, ew. Mute him. So unfortunately we don't really have a second turn play, which is fine for the most part. There's no reason to attack if he's got something like a haste creature. He's playing mono red. We can just take it out with the Typhoid Rats. Alright, he's playing Gruul, so that's not great. I find Gruul is generally a bad matchup for this deck. It plays lots of burn, which is the biggest weakness. Alright, so we didn't find anything, but we got a Drew Blightblade. So, unfortunately, we're kind of relying on top-decking lands here. I play only 20 lands in this deck, which is on the low side for most decks that I'm playing. Yeah, alright, so that's not great. We can start swinging now, because ultimately, you can win by swinging them out, even without poison counters. Alright, yeah, okay, so hopefully we'll get some triggers off Okame Adversary. If he trades the Rampart Smasher with the Okame Adversary, that's fine. He might have Heroic Intervention. Embercleave, that is not ideal. So that's fine, because as I was talking about, we can genuinely just Primal Might our Typhoid Rats and trade it with the Rampart Smasher, which is honestly an excellent deal for 1 green. And then we will draw a card. Again, a Typhoid Rats, but at this rate, we'll just genuinely swing him out. We've got a second Primal Might, so if he plays another big creature to try and Embercleave with, we can do it again with the Typhoid Rats. Exactly. Alright, yeah, so we just swung him out here. So... I didn't even see Fynn. Yeah, so we had lots of, removal thanks to the Primal Mights, so that's why you absolutely need a playset of them in your deck. Unmute him. Good game. Again, I hope to God that this doesn't get banned. I feel like Fynn is going to get banned, because poison seems ridiculously good. But if he does, I suppose I'll make a new video on what I'm playing. I'm thinking Snow Permanents, but I really like playing Fringe. Alright, so I'm going to take a mulligan. I don't really see anywhere to go from this. And unfortunately, I'm going to mulligan a second time. Oh god. Alright, I'll keep. I should be okay as long as I manage to top deck into a land. Then I can always use my Fiend Artistan as a sack outlet. Alright, he's playing Rakdos. This is an... Oh god. Rakdos is another deck that I find really hard to play against, because often Rakdos has a lot of removal, and this deck honestly doesn't deal well with creature removal. That's why I would highly recommend playing 4 Heroic Interventions if you've got them. Okay, things are not going well at all. To be fair, this deck rarely needs a high mana curve. I can usually get by with 2 or 3 lands. Of course, ideally I'm gonna get out my cards like Vivian Monster's Advocate, but I can get by without it. Oh hey, we got another land! Our Fiend Artisan is a 2/2. Ideally we would draw a black land, and then we could Herald into a... Nah. One way or another I need my black land, because I could also play Typhoid Rats. I mean, I'm just grasping at straws here. Who knows if we'll even get anything. Yeah, there you go. Oh, I did draw my black land, though. That's it. I'm gonna click around you. Look, I know this doesn't actually do anything. It's just a coping mechanism. Really? You gotta do it to me. You just beating me isn't enough. You gotta stall me when you beat me too. Alright, I'll play one more game just so you can get the gist of it, and I guess I'll, I don't know, give it an outro. No, nobody needs that. Heck that. As I'm sure most of you can tell, I'm still learning this whole YouTube thing. Yeah, again, this is looking like an amazing hand. We've got the Typhoid Rats into the Fynn, and then the Grim Dancer or Harald, depending. Probably the Grim Dancer. And we've even gotten the draw of the land, which is great. If we draw one more land, that we're pretty much set for the entire game, because we never need more than 5 lands. And considering the low curve, there we go. Considering the low curve, as I was saying, you can run off a minimum lands. I've won games with 2 lands before. Before, I say, when in reality it was like a couple hours ago. But that is the brilliant thing about this deck, is you can run an insanely low curve, and it'll be just as effective, because swinging in with a 1-1 with Death Touch is the exact same as swinging in with a 4-4 with Death Touch. That's why if you're going to be removing cards, I would highly... Oh, that was a misplay. Oh well. That's why if you're removing cards, I would highly recommend them to be the O-Game Adversary and the Questing Beast, because they're expensive, and being expensive doesn't necessarily pay off in this deck. Again, it was a big misplay to get the Harald, even if we got Tyvar Kell off of it. We wanted that Grim Dancer so we can start swinging it with Death Touch as much as possible. At this point, we're kind of hoping for a Primal Might, so that way we're going to be able to trade our Typhoid Rats with his Parcel Beast, but it shouldn't make a difference one way or another at this point. I think we've won. Unfortunately for this guy, he was clearly getting mana screwed. I mean, he's running off of 2 lands, and he's been using a Parcel Beast, so... Feel bad for him, but you know what? We got the exact same thing happen to us. It's luck of the draw, unfortunately. Okay, then. So, yeah, as I was saying, the Infect deck, it's really good. You're probably looking for a lower curve as opposed to a higher curve. Looking to removal, Herald, O-Game Adversary, Questing Beast, maybe Tyvar, and we're definitely looking to add more heroic interventions. But, yeah, I don't have very many wild cards. If you, make your own brew of this deck, I would love for you to send me a link so I can either give you advice or take advice for my own deck. That would be wonderful, and if you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching, and let's all pray that Fynn the Fangbearer does not get banned.